This is Debra Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and your questions. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to think to get the energy and the vitality that you want in the second and better half. And before we dive into this episode that I'm really excited and I roll out the red carpet for my guest, I want to read a review from iTunes. OrwollFam says, Debra makes so much sense, and after following her for a few years, I feel better. No daytime energy crashes anymore. Look forward to exercising, and I'm seeing results. I am loving life again. This is a total game changer. So thanks so much, OrwollFam. I love it and so appreciate little comments like that are literally okay, this is what makes it so worthwhile. So you have no idea how much that means to me. Hopefully this little message sends just even a fraction of it to you. So thanks for sharing. And I'd love to hear your comments in iTunes and potentially read them on a future podcast. But right now, there we are, the red carpet rolling out for Terry Cochran. She's an integrative practitioner and thought leader in personalized healthcare. She's developed her own methodology, the Cochran Method, which integrates a multi-level nutritional approach, including biochemistry, nutrition, genetic tendencies, herbology, and counseling to develop a individualized plan for her clients. She's a writer and speaker and maintains a nationally read blog and radio presence. Terry specializes in complex health conditions and has a private clinical practice in Reston, Virginia, within the metro Washington, D.C. area. She launched her groundbreaking and Amazon best-selling new release book, The Wilditarian Diet, Living as Nature Intended, in March of 2018. And I'm pretty sure we had her here to talk about that. Terry, I'm so glad to have you back.
Oh, Debra, it's so great to be back, and congratulations on that testimonial, because it's all true. I follow a lot of your teachings and I am better for it. So I speak that as well.
So good. Okay. And so every female that's here, and actually every male, I have to say, we have to ask the question. And I know this is true for you, but you do belong here. We have to ask, how old are you?
I will be 58 in January.
Which I knew, but I love that the audience hears that. And I'm going to have to slap a picture up on our podcast because you walk the talk, you look so great, and we're going to dig into a little bit of your own personal practices as well. But right now we're talking about something you sent me in the mail and I am loving, and it's the wild lights. And, I really want to talk about all of the reasoning behind this and have you dig into it for us. But part of it has to do with handling stress. And, that is not ever going to go away. And I'm sure every single listener out there has at least one stressor that right now is forefront on her mind. Why is the wild way the best way to live and manage it?
Well, before we get into the wild lights, and thank you for that question, the whole wilditarian approach and lifestyle is really going back to living as nature intended. And nature did not intend us to live in this pressure cooker, gotta have everything right now or yesterday, moving at warp speed, not being in the present moment and really breathing into our cellular respiration, which is so important for all of our cellular functions. So the whole wilditarian lifestyle really aims to be in the present moment, be a steward of our planet by how we vote with our food dollars, really understanding and eating to our genetic blueprint in our current state of health, and then becoming your own body interpreter. I say I speak multiple languages. One of them is body, and I'm going to teach you how to become your own body interpreter through the whole wilditarian way.
That is awesome. And I think anybody else listening, I'm just dying to know. I wish listeners could talk back to us right now. But while you were talking about that, I found myself realizing I've not really taken a deep breath all day long.
It's such an important thing that we forget. Inspire, the word inspire is to breathe in. And when we actually breathe in deeply, we are inspired. Not only do we oxygenate, but it helps us think more clearly. It helps us move to a different level of vibration that then ideas come forth. So it's really a beautiful word. And it's so interesting, Deborah, because it just came to me that the word inspire is to breathe and breathe in.
So true. Okay. I want to kind of throw you a question that might be out of left field, but you're just one of the best people to answer this question, I think. Given you talk so much about the wildatarian diet, and eating in a specific way. And my listeners are no foreigners to diets. I mean, many of us have tried a lot of them. And we're still experimenting. We're not ever there. Maybe we won't ever be there, finally arriving at, what is peace. But I got to hold out hope that we can. But I hear this question so many times, and I probably deflect it rather than hit it. But keto, talk to me about keto.
Okay.
Why might keto, and I have my own opinion, but why might keto not be the best approach for everyone?
That is a great question. So, back to understanding your genetic blueprinting and your current state of health, especially for women. So, keto, as we know, is a high fat, really high fat diet. And if we have certain genetic predispositions and those genetic predispositions have been expressed, this is the world of epigenetics, then eating a high fat, concentrated food supply can actually make us more fat malabsorbed, leading to hormone imbalance, acne, insulin resistance, because insulin is a fat storage hormone, thyroid imbalance, foggy headedness. I cannot tell you how many women have come in here and been on keto diets, and they come in and they say, Terry, why am I feeling so poorly? Well, because you have certain gene polymorphisms or alleles that have been expressed, and we always figure out the why, but it no longer suits you to eat fat. And so what happens is when you eat fat in an amount or in a type of fat that is more than your body can assimilate, then you're actually breaching the tight junctions of your gut, releasing those large undigested fat molecules into your system, which then have to be captured by the lymphatic system. The second role of lymph is fat metabolism. If that's backed up, then we become what I call fluffy. So we're fluffy, we're swollen. You can see it in our under our eyes. We have edema if we press down on our forearm and it shows white. And then when we are not using those fats, as I said, all these things can happen. Insulin resistance, foggy headedness, hormone disruption, because we're not using all of those hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and of course our thyroid hormones. So it can be really problematic.
I'm so glad you said that. And, I find the other thing too that I think people are looking for, I want to do this and then I want to do this forever. And, I think while some phases of certain diets or trial and error may be okay for a period of time, it doesn't necessarily mean that's something that will sustain you for life.
Exactly. And if we have life changes along the way. So for example, as we're going through menopause, we're having a lot of hormone shifts. The body's already, the liver and the kidneys and the gut and the lymph are having to break down this extra hormone shift. And so if you have certain predispositions, it may not be a great idea. So for me, for example, I actually can tolerate fats really well, but I also know when I've overdone it. And I know it because I feel fluffy or I look in the toilet and my stool has changed. It's a lighter color. It's floating. I can actually see fat, a little bit of fat residue in the water. So our body talks to us. And as I say, there's no one food or one supplement for all of us for our entire lifetime, because we are dynamic. And so therefore, how we feed ourselves and how we supplement ourselves should also be dynamic.
Agree and love that. And I always imagine my listeners like driving home, hearing this, thinking, okay, that makes sense. Because I think it also releases us. It's like, okay, you're not doing anything wrong, right? This is
Exactly.
natural.
And it's body feedback. It's really tuning in and not being afraid. People come to me, and what I tell them is try to separate what's happening with the fear or the uncertainty. It is just information. Your body's giving you information. We're going to help you translate that information into something that is, air quote, digestible, so then you can assimilate it and use it to your benefit. It's just feedback. It's information.
Perfect. Use that data, girlfriend. All right. And we're about to go into this season of abundance, at least as we record this live. I call tomorrow like the start of tripping, like month after month after month of an excess of candy and temptation, since we're just before Halloween Eve right now as we do this live. So, I think so many people have talked about detox in January forever, but I've really gotten into the habit of doing a detox in December, which I love. What would you suggest for like a pre-holiday detox that might make us even more or less prone to, be subject to wanting to indulge?
I love that. I call it pre-tox. It's like the pre-holiday detox.
You should trademark that.
I love that. So, first of all, it's just looking at your calendar, right? So, looking out over the next several months and seeing where you're going to be traveling, when you're going to be with family, when you're going to be at parties, and operating under a calendar of the weaving of the ebb and flow of how you're going to eat. So being preemptive is super important, right? Because if we are stressed over the holidays and we're already going to be eating on the road and so forth because we're doing our holiday shopping and whatever, then it's really important to look at the calendar and say, okay, where can I do some meal planning that's going to be super simple? I say you can be wild in 5. That means make or prep a meal, wilditarian meal, in 5 minutes. And so that kind of planning is super key to the pre-tox. The second thing is apple cider vinegar is such an undervalued, good on a multi-level product because it is a prebiotic. It helps feed the gut with good bacteria. It gives us hydrochloric acid, which is for digestion. It is an alkalizer. It helps us with breaking down fats. So every morning I put in apple cider vinegar now I do a green juice, but that's also, if you can't do a green juice, put a little apple cider vinegar in your water is going to really be a detoxifier. Another thing that's really important in the pre-tox is to simplify. We get into, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I'm going to buy 28 presents. No, make it simple. Give experiential gifts. Put your lists down and start talking or writing a note. We really do. Mindfulness during the holidays gets really lost, and we actually get intoxicated with all of the commercialization of the holidays. So it's a mental pre-tox, right? Let's just simplify it. Make things simple.
Yeah.
Use the apple cider vinegar. If you can do a green juice, I do it every morning, my cucumber and cilantro. And then I've come out with a brand new product that is also a huge detoxifier, which is my wild light. So that would be a great pre-tox too.
Okay, yeah. So talk about the wild lights, because I think everybody's listening and they're like, okay, well, I need that like in the summertime, right? When I'm sweating a lot with exercise.
Oh, no. We need it every day in every way. Wild lights I'm so proud of this, and it took me a while to figure it out. Exactly how to source the perfect organic cilantro. It's simple, but it's also, I believe, it's really brilliant because a lot of the electrolyte powders out there have synthetic ingredients. They contain sulfur. They'll make us sometimes it can really hit our nervous system. And this wild light is 3 simple ingredients of organic cilantro, watermelon, and sea salt. And it is so beyond a replenishing electrolyte balance, because what it does is it also anti-stress. Why is it? Because the watermelon in there, the concentrated desiccated watermelon, has synergistic properties in that it is so rich in potassium, and potassium is depleted when we get stressed. It's also rich in magnesium. Magnesium is considered the anti-stress mineral. It's rich in vitamin C. Vitamin C helps open up our liver detoxification pathways. It helps with immune system function. It helps with adrenal support. And then what's also super cool is the synergistic effects of these ingredients may actually balance uric acid levels and support oxalate crystal reduction. And what we're finding is that there's recent studies that indicate that our bodies have something called inflammasomes, which are recurring spots in the body of inflammation, which are activated by uric acid and low intracellular potassium. So what's so cool about this is this may help support the whole inflammatory response in the body: joint pain, gut pain, brain fog, adrenal support. I'm just so thrilled to be have put this out in the last few weeks, because we are already getting such incredible feedback from it. I had a client today. She told me, Terry, my gosh, she had been everywhere and was getting no results, was foggy headed, couldn't lose weight. Everything was, she was almost allergic to air practically. She said, within 4 days of taking this, I was a completely different woman. And she told me today, she says, for the first time ever in the history of my having a relationship with a healthcare practitioner, I was looking forward to coming back to see you, to tell you what a difference my life is, how different my life is in just 1 month.
Wow.
That's pretty
That
strong
is
stuff.
really strong stuff. And that, of course, is like on that level, it's what we all love, right? Listeners are like dying for, what are the immediate things that I'm going to feel and get from this? And oh my gosh, that list is amazing. So who else might you suggest this for? Who's a perfect candidate?
I think we're all a perfect candidate, unless you have an overt allergy to cilantro or watermelon, or if you're on high potassium. If your potassium is too high, then it's not a great thing for you, because it is rich in potassium. But anybody with blood pressure problems, right? Because potassium is so important for blood pressure. It's very important for heart health. It helps with joint pain. We have kids taking it and they love it. It just helps, support mental clarity. We have so many people. We had a client with celiac. She actually calls me Dr. House. She's so cute because she's got not just celiac, but she's got multiple layers in her complex health conditions. She told me that she had a cross contamination at a restaurant, which usually takes her days to overcome. She said within hours of taking the Wildlight, she was feeling better.
Wow.
So really anyone, it's very safe. We have nursing moms who are taking it. We have pregnant people who are taking it, because it helps with gut, with blood sugar balance, super stress response. It helps with histamine flares and muscle cramping, right? Which is so important. In what happens when we stress, we deplete potassium and magnesium and calcium, and we start getting muscle cramps. So this is also really, really good.
So awesome. Okay. So also I have to share with all of our listeners. So I've got a URL here where you can actually go and use a special Flipping 50 code to get yours for 15% off. So if you happen to be listening, especially before the holidays, and you are interested in some easy detox and ways to feel better, this would be one simple way to do it. So I will put that in the show notes. And so now, Terry, turning your questions to you. All right. So you are gorgeous. You are super active, full of energy. And yet I know your itinerary. I mean, I know you're all over the place and you are serving a lot of people, but I have to tell listeners, so whenever we're together somewhere, inevitably I will see you in the morning out and about running and looking very spry. What do you do personally to stay lean and fit serving others doesn't necessarily mean it's really easy to take care of yourself, but you clearly do it. What are you doing?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for those beautifully kind comments. But, I believe that as you do, Debra, and this is your mission on the planet, is really flipping 50, that we do not have to be told that we're going to look like X or feel like Y after a certain age. And I believe part of it is, again, simplifying, even though you and I travel a lot, we're serving a lot of people, but it's also decluttering the mind, right? So what is essential that I need to know? And what is it that I can just either put on pause or actually take away from the energetic clutter that we keep? Sometimes we hold on to things that we can't either do anything about, or they're not going to serve us, and they take up mental space, which can actually be a big burden on our nervous system, but also our immune system, because we know that that affects immunity. So I have a routine of every morning getting up and really, just before I plant my feet on the ground, what am I grateful for? And I list in my head at least 3 things, which then starts my morning in gratitude, which just in and of itself is going to support my immune system. And then I drink my green juice every day, or my Wild Lights. When I travel, I drink Wild Lights. Actually, during this podcast, I'm actually drinking some Wild Lights because I'm getting replenished with electrolytes after a full day. But I'll start my morning with the green juice, and then I strive. Consistency is key. I try to work out 5 days a week. I don't work out for 3 hours a day. I work out for maybe 20 to 40 minutes, depending on my schedule. I'm a runner, so I run about 2 miles. And then, Debra, as you taught me so importantly, is I do leg presses, because that's so key to bone health and keeping those quads strong. So then we can since that's our largest muscle, we're going to burn more fat. So I do a combination of running, but I do interval running. So I run for 7 and then walk for 30 seconds, run for 7, walk for 30 seconds in that. So my adrenals aren't overtaxed. I do leg presses and I do core. And then I'll wrap it up with just a little bit of sun salutation, put in that yoga. And then at night, I try to bring it down. I will read by candlelight. I will read something that's inspirational in the evening. Again, kind of a book ending of day with gratitude. And there's more and more science coming to the forefront about how our thoughts create our whole immunology and physiology. And so really being grateful and simplifying and eliminating the clutter, the thinking clutter, is so enlightening and light on the body. And then, just that's inspiring to be that person, because as you know, Debra, we walk our walk. We don't just tell people to eat a certain way or exercise in a certain way and then not do it ourselves. And so it's just owning that and then really living into it and having it become part of who we are. I don't exercise because I have to. I exercise because it's part of my essence. And I value myself enough to give myself those 20 to 40 minutes, which will then inspire me to be a better person and actually have the capacity to serve my clients.
I love that. So love that. And it's almost the opposite. I think, when women are thinking often about, okay, if I'm going to do a diet, and that's not what we're recommending, I'm going to do a diet, I'm going to, then there's all these things I can't have. There's this list of, I can't have that, can't have this. So it starts with deprivation, and yet the elimination of other things in our lives is just like we're carrying around this baggage, and what happens when you show up at the airline counter with extra baggage, you pay for it, right?
Absolutely. I love that.
So, yeah, I love that. Love all of the analogies too. And thanks so much for sharing a little window into the personal life of Terry Cochran.
Of course. My great
Okay,
pleasure.
last but not least, hardest question of all. Is there a question I should have asked you?
Wow. That's a really good question. I would say, what's next in the new year through the holidays? Maybe you can ask me that.
Okay, I did just now.
Thank you. So, as we talk about what's up for 2020, as part of my philosophy is I'm ever growing and ever learning. And so we look forward to how we can continue to evolve as humans. And so I'm doing a lot of work in the world of neuroscience right now, in the world of how our vibrations really will match where we are. So looking to what's a vibrational fit for me. And so really doing an assessment around, again, on the holidays, I'm going to simplify. I'm going to be around the people that I love. I will take my trips and be in gratitude around them, but not stress to get to the trip and then stress when we leave, return from the trip. And just really being in that mindset of cadence. So I'm striving to live in a cadenced way, a cadence that really resonates with my heart and my mind, because we are meant to be creatures of movement and habit and sound. And so bringing in sounds of the ocean and the winds, as I'm going to Hawaii for the holidays, it tends to be windy there, but just really going back to those elements and trying to integrate cadence into my life. That's going to be my 2020 is all going to be about cadence.
I love that. Love it. And I love the unspoken things that come through as you're talking. Your voice is so clear, and I think that is no accident. I mean, literally listening to you, it's not just the vision of what it is you're saying in the words, but it's actually the clarity in your voice just relays this sense of peace. Listeners, I'm really interested to know if you hear the same thing that I do in Terry's voice. So comments would be great. And listeners, if you have a question that I didn't ask, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com/wild detox. And there's a dash between those words. I love hearing from you. And if this episode was helpful, please leave a rating in iTunes and then share it with a friend. Surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. So just one last reminder to get the most from this week's episode and to learn more about Terry's Wild Lights, and click on the link where you can get them and use the Flipping 50 discount code. That's right here in the show notes. Again, it's flipping50.com/wild-detox, where you'll find all those juicy downloads and resources that we mentioned. What are you waiting for? Let's start Flipping 50 together.